Hi, my name's Raquel, and I don't want to be a doctor anymore. In your life, there are certain inflection points when you have to decide whether you're going to go right or whether you're going to go left. After a recent trip to France, I find myself at one of those crossroads. Do I continue to be a doctor, or do I become a full-time artist? Let me explain. When I was growing up, I always wanted to be a doctor. It was an absolute dream of mine. And yes, I know that sounds incredibly cliche, but it's the truth. I always wanted to be a doctor. I was fascinated with medical shows. When I would play with kids in the neighborhood, I would always be the doctor, and no, we're not talking about that. Keep it clean, guys. I would brew concoctions of dirt and twigs and soil and give them to my friends as a remedy for whatever. My mom bought me a fake plastic doctor's kit, so I had a stethoscope and I would pretend to listen to people's hearts, and I would use leaves to fix or to cover their abrasions that they got when they were riding their bikes and they fell off. Well, I grew up wanting to be a doctor. I was raised in an artistic home. My dad was a stay-at-home dad and a full-time potter. He had a studio in the backyard. We helped my dad with pottery, aka free child labor, and he would let us play with the clay, and we'd make cute little figurines and toys and decorations for the Christmas tree. It was amazing. My mom, she was the one that had the 9-to-5 job, but she was also an artist. I shouldn't say was, because she still is, but she made quilts, sewing. I made clothes for my Barbies. I made quilts for my Barbies. I learned how to make books with my mom. When I was in high school, I found photography. Absolutely love photography. It was my first real true, I'd say, foray. I took his class 3 years in a row. It was amazing. But when I went to college, when I ultimately decided I'm going to go to college, I went to get a degree in medicine. But it was kind of hard. I grew up poor. My parents didn't have a lot of resources. They gave me the best that they could, but I still had to pay for school on my own. I still had to work a full-time job to be able to live off campus and not with my parents. And I'll be honest, I got distracted with life and I ended up dropping out. And it took a number of years before I ended up going back to school. But when I did, I was serious. I was dedicated. I was serious about going back to school. But I also had a desire to explore art. So every semester I took an art class. I took a photography class. I didn't like it because it wasn't Mr. Pinto's, so I dropped it. I took some drawing classes, which were absolutely amazing, absolutely loved, but to be able to take figure drawing or some of the other classes, you really had to be like a major in fine arts or at least get a minor, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't have the time for that. I ended up finding a small metals class that was absolutely amazing. My teacher for that class was amazing, and she told me something that I'll never forget. She said, when you go to school to get a job that will pay for your art. Don't become an artist first, get a job that will pay for your art first. And that's exactly what I did. I went to school, I became a doctor, and then hopefully now we'll be focusing on art. I love art. Specifically, I love portraiture. The fine, delicate brushwork of Rembrandt, the lighting of Vermeer, Chuck Close, Van Gogh with his bright colors and broad strokes, and of course, you can't forget my all-time favorite, John Singer Sargent, and the looseness of his brush. These people are an inspiration to me. Every time I travel, I go to a museum to see if I can see their work in person. And when I do, I'm a hot mess. I'm crying, I'm sobbing, I'm a hot mess. eventually I graduated. I got my degree in medicine. I got a full-time job, but I didn't have time for art. I was a full-time physician and a full-time single mom to a daughter who was a teenager. So I had to focus on those priorities. My daughter, making sure that she was doing well, getting a good education, and then my job. It wasn't until she graduated high school and left the house that I realized I have a lot of time on my hands and I need to do something. And guess what? I actually have a little bit of expendable income, so let me start a hobby. Let me get back into art. So I bought oil paints, I bought brushes, I bought canvases, I bought all the supplies, but I had no idea what I was doing. I went to University of YouTube to try to learn some stuff, but it's not quite the same. So I found a local class and I took a class and I learned so much and I fell in love. I absolutely have fallen in love with painting. So you may ask yourself, what does France have to do with this? Well, it's because when I went to France for my 50th birthday, I had an aha moment. Some people may call it a midlife crisis, but it's not a crisis. There is no crisis in this decision. It made me realize that I need to be an artist, that this is what I need to do full time to be happy. I was in a town called Saint-Rémy-de-Provence. It's where Van Gogh was institutionalized in the asylum and where he created some of his greatest works. It was life-changing to be in the place, to see the things that he saw, to look up at the night sky that he saw. Okay, maybe not exactly the night sky, I get it, but you get it, right? It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. Don't get me wrong, I love being a doctor. I love my job. I love where I work. I love the people I work with. I love helping people. But it's really hard. People are really mean and they do really terrible things to people they supposedly love, and it is very hard to see and deal with day in and day out. My worst day painting is nowhere near as bad as my worst day at work. If I mess up a brush stroke and I ruin the eye on my painting, big deal. Let it dry, come back later, start over. If I mess something up at work, I make the wrong decision, people can die. And that's pretty stressful. That's a heavy weight to bear. And after nearly 30 years in medicine, it wears on you. It really wears on you. And so here I am, making a decision about what I want to do for the rest of my life. I can hear some people saying, you're crazy to give up a 6-figure-a-year job to become a full-time starving artist, but let me just say, I'm not going to just give it up foolishly. I'm going to do this logically, financially responsibly. I want to be a full-time artist, but I don't want to be starving. I want to be able to afford the supplies, afford all this stuff. So I'm going to plan. This is a journey. I'm going to take it. It may take 1 year. It may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. But it's the journey that I want to take. So if you've ever found yourself in this situation where you're giving up your career to become a full-time artist, I would love to hear your story. I really would, because I'm going through this right now. If this is something that is inspiring to you, or you're doing this at the same time, please follow me on this journey. I'm going to be posting about this hopefully pretty regularly. Not only just videos like this, but also videos of my art, the process of learning to becoming an artist and finding my voice and finding my style and who I'm ultimately going to be. So if that's something that you're interested in, please follow along. I'd love to hear your comments, and I'm super excited to share this journey with you. So I hope you come along, and we'll see you later.